All right, this is episode five.
Five, I think. Yeah.
I think it's five. Cool. Um, yeah, we just made it back from Austin. I want to say Tuesday.
Yeah.
Got
How
to
was that?
here. It was dope. I'm making the right choice. I'm so stoked. It's
Yeah.
gonna be great when I move out there. A lot of connections, a lot of self-employed people in my building. So I'm just stoked. There's just gonna be a lot of opportunity for me, a lot of opportunity for them to come on and speak their mind about their product, and so we can help them validate it. Keyword for today. Uh,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yeah, it was good. It's the weather out there is phenomenal, and the
Yeah.
snow, so that's pretty huge for me. I ended up seeing Arch Manning when I got out there, so I was
Your
fanboy.
song?
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, what? For real? Where?
I don't think I told you. It was as we were driving on the highway, we saw them practicing on the practice facility.
Oh,
You
okay,
just see
gotcha.
this little dude with like shaggy hair just slinging it, and I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that was lit.
That's so tough. That's so
So
sick.
it was yeah, it was good. Um, Me and Carson's my brother. For those of you who don't know, we are going to be moving May 8th now.
Crazy.
So it's not going to be the end of May as we expected. Just the lease kind of forced us to push it back and everything, and so it's going to be a little bit earlier, but it's going to be
Yeah.
good. But
That's
what about
exciting,
you? What's
bro.
new? What's new?
Dude, things are good. Just got back from spring break. I didn't really go anywhere, but yeah, school's kind of in the semester, so it's going well. I'm just busy, but we've been doing a lot of our interviews for First Pitch, and we're posting this Monday actually. So, well, I guess this will come out on Wednesday, so they will already start. They'll already be out by the time this podcast goes public. So
Yeah,
I'm super stoked for that. You guys are gonna love those videos. Just kind of hearing from all the different entrepreneurs here in Salt Lake that we've interviewed so far, and like Brad said, expanding to Austin and just other areas. We're hoping First Pitch will just continue to grow and get all of you guys the opportunity to make your first pitch on our platform. So we're super stoked. Those videos are coming up, and what's really awesome is like in those videos and in those interviews, we're gonna ask them about like how they started, their stories, and kind of their advice. And so if you're an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, someone who's looking to do your own startup, these are some great people to listen to because they are literally in your shoes. I think there's always a lot of value in talking to a mentor or someone who's done it like years ago, but I also think it's really cool to hear us like a current like new founder's insight, like us, where they're in the thick of it right now, so they can really speak to it super well. So yeah, I'm stoked for you guys to hear about that. But yeah, I think we're gonna jump in, Brad, and kind of talk about today if you want to get us started.
cool. So I feel like today is it's definitely an important one. Obviously we've talked about a lot on here. Everything from building in your dorm room to different things like social media marketing. But I feel like the phase zero is what I like to call it, is that's the one of the most important ones in my opinion.
Mhm.
Obviously, you need to pick something and go and then try to scale and see if it works, but you need to find a way on how to validate your actual startup before you waste months or even years doing it, before you even realize like, oh shoot, I need to pivot and go into something else that works a little bit more in terms of the market or for me, or just finding people that actually want the product. So I think a reason why a lot of startups don't work out is because no one actually wants to use it at the end of the
Yeah.
day. Even
Yeah.
though obviously it's important to start something that you personally enjoy and try to scale. I feel like those are a little bit harder to do if you
Hmm.
don't. You kind of have to find a middle ground, like something that you know would work in the market and something you personally enjoy, not just something you personally enjoy, because you don't know if that's going to work in the market.
Exactly.
Just a lot harder to scale. But I kind of wanted to go over the process today with you on how to see if your idea is actually worth pursuing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So let's start.
Yeah.
You
No,
kind of have an idea of where you want to start?
yeah, no, of course. I think one thing, you kind of mentioned this, it is like a phase zero, right? It's really your first step as an entrepreneur. And in fact, I would argue that like millions of people probably do this every day where they sit down, they're like, I want to start a business, I want to start up something, and they come up with an idea, but then nothing happens from it, right? So it's actually I think it's probably the greatest failure of an entrepreneur because so many people do it every day, but then they don't actually like make anything of it, right? So, but I would say the first thing to realize is, and my first tip is don't just think of ideas because what happens a lot of times is you kind of get into this like they're called made up ideas where you feel like something would work and you're like I think this could solve a problem or I think like this would be a cool business style but nobody actually cares, nobody really wants it, and it's kind of putting you in this trap, right? So instead of asking like is this a good business, ask who wants this product or service right now, right? And like that's the question you should ask yourself. Like and I love the idea of like organic problems and like organic ideas. What that means is you as a founder, instead of looking at, yeah, again, like what's a random business I can make today? Think about throughout your day to day, what are the biggest challenges or problems you go through? And like and be honest with yourself. Like what are things that like just bug me or piss me off? And it could be anything. It could be you're at school and something happens, or you're at home and this like tool or device that you're trying to use isn't working well. Like think of everything you do throughout your day and what is it that inhibits you from having a more efficient day, right? And almost always you can find a pain point there that you can build from. And so, but I also think Brad, you brought up a good point. There's kind of two types of entrepreneurs. There's one who wants to find the best problem and like problem market fit and go at it. There's also the entrepreneur who wants to do something they're passionate about, right? And so it's kind of how can you bridge both of those together? And I'd be interested to hear kind of your thoughts on that. Like because you've been working on multiple projects right now, and maybe one of them it's kind of more something you're passionate about. Maybe one's like more like just a problem you're passionate about. I don't know. Or maybe they're all just things you're very passionate about. I think there's definitely entrepreneurs out there who are looking at where do I make the most value? Where do I make the most money? And there's others who are like, what's a problem I'm passionate about? And where do I go from here?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like a lot of mine, because I've had a ton of ideas as
Mhm.
I've gone through
Yeah.
my career. Um, but I feel like as I've gone through my college career, I've obviously, gotten rid of a few projects, pivoted towards other ones, or started a completely new idea. And what I've found as I've gone is that I can't exactly, because obviously you could say an idea is so good, but like if you're looking in a mirror and you're only saying that to yourself, like you're not really gonna know if that's a truly good idea, because obviously that's your baby, that's your project. You
Exactly.
have some sort of bias towards it. So the way I've done it is I've actually gone up to people and done like different surveys, and I've done it in like I've made like a little pitch decks before, and just basically saying, this is what my company is, this is what we're doing, this is what we want to do, this is what the actual layout of the project is, and then I'll ask them, is this something that you would personally use? And I think people are very afraid to hear the answer no, because
Yeah.
that obviously that's your baby, and you're gonna. That's one thing I'd recommend is you have to put yourself aside from your business and your work. Like it's the same thing as when venture or private equity firms comes in or VCs and they want a chunk of your business and you want to say no because you want to be like, oh, I want to bootstrap this the whole time. I want this to be all me because there's a little bit of ego in there.
Hmm.
So you just have to put that aside and say, you know what, like that's fine. Like this person doesn't like my product. That gives me an opportunity to make it better or even pivot now. And I think that's where people kind of get stuck and you have to let the ego go. Um, Also, I feel like the longer you wait to validate, I feel like the more painful it is to kill your actual idea and pivot. It's like the longer it's like a relationship. The longer you hold on to a relationship, the stronger those ties are going to get, and the closer you get to someone, even if they're like a little bit toxic in a way. It
Yeah.
crazy connection that I'm
No,
trying to
no, for
make, but
sure.
I feel like you have to put those ideas out as fast as you can and validate it as fast as you can so you don't get attached to the idea and be like, okay, this idea is dumb or it's not going to work out. Let me switch to something else.
Hmm.
So you don't get stuck in that. And that's another thing that I've read in the Creative Act with Rick Rubin is he's basically saying the same thing. Like once you kind of look at an art piece for long enough, you don't really see like the good or the bad anymore. It's just kind of like a neutral slate.
Mm.
And it says step away, work on a different project for a little bit, get your mind on that, and then come back, and then you'll see things from a different light. Just like you were saying yesterday, just editing those first pitch interviews, it almost gets a little redundant when you
Yeah.
look at it for long enough. That's what was happening when I was making music on my guitar.
Hmm.
Do it for long enough to where like it almost gets annoying in your ear.
Yeah.
It's the same with business. You have to step away, come back in a week, then you come with a clear mind, then you realize if this is a good or a bad idea at the end of the day. So validation needs to happen before you build and not after. Um, I want to know, what do you kind of think about that? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, go into
You know,
that.
I think I really liked your point about ego. I think this is something we should touch on, especially because it requires a lot of humility to be a successful founder. It really does.
Hmm.
Because you have to put the business first above yourself
Yep.
always. Like that is something in the book Good to Great. It's a really good book on like how the best businesses in history or in the United States the past 100 years have like really beat the market and have grown a ton. And they evaluated, the leaders, this kind of level five leaders they call them. They put the business above everything else. It does not matter, and so sometimes that means you just have to be like so open to rejection that like that's part of it because you know it's best for your business. So I really loved our interview with Brody Sanchez from Shredder last week. And we've talked to him about this before because he's spent a lot of time and effort. In fact, his greatest piece of advice for aspiring founders is to go out and validate your idea. He says, like, I've had to go out multiple times, talk to skiers, snowboarders, like, is this app something you would use? And he said that a lot of people said no to a lot of things about the app, a lot of features that they just did not care for, but it just helped him refine his product so much that they're blowing up right now and they're doing really well. And so you have to be willing to put yourself out there and be willing to face rejection. And that doesn't mean, and Brad, you touched on this before, but one of my favorite lessons I learned in my entrepreneurship classes in college were one of the ideas was this mom test where if you go out and ask your mom, is this a product or a service that you would be willing to buy or pay for it? Or like, how do you think this business would work? Almost always, she'll give you an answer that's not fully honest or true to what it is. And so what you need to do is instead of asking friends, talking to friends about it, talking to family about it, go out and talk to strangers who this problem may affect. And if you can get 10 people to say, even if it's a bad prototype, even if your first product or service is just like so embarrassingly bad, but they're at least willing to like, yeah, like I would probably pay for that. That's when you know you're getting validation. And you have to go to like a stranger, somebody you don't know, because they'll be honest with you about that. So it's it's kind of finding this like key distinction between like how fake validation is just interest, but then real validation is like the actual willingness to pay for the product or the service, right? So I think those are questions that you have to ask yourself as a founder, and just be honest with yourself about it too. I think with first pitch, which has been kind of interesting, is like we've had to pivot, we've had to develop over time. We've had to see like what do founders actually want to get from us and like what do they like about us. And we're still learning that right now. Like that's something I ask the founders we interview all the time. Like, do you guys actually like would you watch this? Like if you did watch this, what do you want it to look like? And understanding like what does the market actually care for. So that's kind of like what I would say in regards to like that type of validation. But yeah, I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that as well.
No, that's interesting that you bring that up. The fake validation aspect. Uh, it does make you wonder because this is so common. I want to say like 9 out of 10 founders do this,
Mm,
but they almost, I feel like I've talked about this with you before, but dopamine talk, going back to that,
yeah.
they almost love the idea of telling someone or telling someone else about this idea and what they're doing and what they think about it, just to feel that like that ego or
Hmm.
the dopamine check, just so they can feel good. But at that point, they don't really do anything with it. Um, Someone like me, if I were to say or tell my mom or my dad about it, it's more of like an accountability aspect where it's like
Yeah.
instead of saying like, Mom and Dad, I'm building this, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
Instead, I would go to them and say, Mom and Dad, I'm building this. My goal is to get 100 followers at the end of at the end of the month. So it's like I'm telling them a goal that I want to reach regardless of what they think. So
Yeah.
it's an accountability aspect. So if I reach the end of the month and they're like, what happened to the 100 followers thing? I'm gonna feel like crap because I didn't reach that goal because it's an accountability thing at the end of the day. So I think it's okay to tell friends and family about it, but don't do it for ego
Yeah.
or validation. Do it because you want to say, hey, I want to reach this goal. I want you to keep me accountable,
Hmm.
you know? So
Yeah.
I think in that aspect it's okay. But um so I think for this next segment of it, kind of bridging off of that, I think there's different questions you have to ask in terms of validating your idea, with question one being, is this a real problem or is this a perceived problem? Because I feel like there's a huge difference between both. So in terms of real, are people already kind of spending money in this market or like spending time trying to solve it with imperfect solutions, or is it more so perceived, um, where you just kind of see it and you want to say like, oh, someone would definitely buy this, but no one would actually
Yeah.
buy it. It's you're perceiving it, but is everyone else perceiving that? So I think people kind of need to take like a real idea of something that's already working, but taking your own segment or chunk of it and making it that much better, you know? Question two would be, who specifically has this problem? So you need to take like an actual like specific group, like find a niche, not just say, oh, my peers in my class would definitely use this. To say no, like a mom would use this, or a 50-year-old father who's going through such and such would use this. Find like a specific niche, find a hyper niche, and then once you grow, you could start like growing and branching out of that. And that's how a lot of these big corporations started. Like
Yeah.
if you look at a company like Bloom, for example, they were targeting, I believe, 30 to 40-year-old women with ab workouts first. Bloom was actually like an ab workout program first.
Mm.
And then from there, they started doing these little packages where you could get like different workouts. And then they started selling different, I think these different shaker cups with those little coffee spinners.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they were just trying to put their name out there. So when you associated like pre-workout or this cup with the gym, you just thought of Bloom. And then they started doing greens powder. Obviously, they were known as the greens company for a while. And then from there, they moved into the energy drink space
Mm.
and then the soda space. And then they are what they are now. But they started with one hyper specific niche, targeting women, 30 to 40-year-old women who just wanted abs,
Yeah.
which is crazy
That's
to think
crazy.
about.
Yeah.
So you need to get hyper specific and take a definition of what you want your niche to be and sharpen it from there and go from
Yeah.
there and get more clarity from there. And then question three, I'd say, is the last and most important section is, would they actually pay for this product?
Mm.
So not where it's like if you give it to them for free, if you're sitting down at a tabling event and be like, hey, like take this product of ours. Obviously they're going to take it. Everyone takes something free. But if you didn't say anything and they said, oh, how much is this? And you told them and they paid for it, that's kind of different. Obviously, free and paid, very, very different. So you need to ask, like, would they pull out their card today and throw out, obviously, I mean, you could do this too. Just throw out a price at them. Even if you have to throw out like I know Tina's talked about this too. Throw out the highest price you'd ever go and see if they'd even pay for that or even consider it. And then you could go
Hmm.
lower from there. Don't start from low to high.
Yeah.
because that's people are going to get used to kind of like that lower product. And then once you start spiking it up, you're going to lose brand trust and brand loyalty. Start with the high because they'll think of it as a much more luxury product that deserves that price point. And if they think it's just a little too expensive, obviously you could go down from there and then you'll have that price point. But you need to test if people would actually pay for it. Just throw out a random price. It doesn't matter. Just throw
Hmm.
out a random price. Just do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Obviously, like Reid Hoffman said, if you're not embarrassed by your first version of your product, you launch too late.
Hmm.
So I think people just kind of need to realize those three questions. So question one being, is this a real problem or a perceived problem? Question two, who specifically has this problem? And question three, who would actually pay for it right now?
Yeah.
So I kind of want to get into the segment of how to actually talk to customers and how to like bring this up and yeah, do you want to kind of take that?
Yeah, yeah. And I just have a couple thoughts. So I think when you're talking to a customer, it's very easy to get into this mindset of I need to sell the product now. Like I need to get in the sales mindset. I would argue actually and encourage a lot of you who are watching to not just go out and like sell and promote your product. Of course, that's great, but be a founder who goes out and you spend a lot of your time in the beginning stages just listening to customers. Listening is such a key skill that not a lot of founders have. So, what this looks like is, let's say, like you're doing some sort of physical labor business, you're cleaning windows or something. Of course, it's easy to go door to door and sell it, but spend some time talking to the people you already sold to or like their neighbors, their friends who, and just be like, hey, be honest, like I want to understand your pain point with this. Like, what was the last time you had this problem you were going through? Or when was the last time like you were experiencing this? What was the most frustrating aspect about it? Or have you ever hired somebody like me before? And if you did, what do you like or not like? Like you need to ask these questions and really listen to the customers. And it's that's part of R&D, right? It's like this research and development. You're going out and you're talking to people and you're getting their feedback. You're listening to them. And so I would say first and foremost, practice listening. It's such a key skill that not a lot of founders have. Um, I'd also talk about, I think it's important that, and we talked about this a lot, Brad, but you're being authentic, you're being yourself, that don't let your perception of like what other founders do like override who you are.
Mhm.
When you're putting out a service or a product, even if you're like an influencer, whoever you are, be authentic to yourself and customers will like see right through it, right? So if you're not authentic, they'll know and they'll be like, I don't trust this guy. But if you are authentic and you're just humble about your product, you're passionate about it, you explain why, they'll see it. And a lot of times people probably buy from you just because they believe in you, just because they see your authenticity, because it's so rare nowadays to find a founder who talks to their customers and is actually authentic about themselves, about their product. Like, I'm sure you've had the experience where you're like on the street and somebody's trying to sell you something and you just know it's a scam deep down, or you just know there's something else behind it, and you're like, bro, like I don't trust you on this. But then you also see these founders, like the ones we've interviewed, where they're just so authentic about themselves, about their product, about their brand, and it just makes you want to like root for them and invest in them and buy from them. And so that's a topic I'd like to touch on a little bit too, Brad, is like how can founders be more authentic, whether it's talking to customers or just even just portraying themselves when they're around their service or their product. Like how can some of these founders practice being more authentic?
Uh, I definitely feel like that goes back to the ego thing. I feel like it's kind of hard for founders to put down the ego.
Yeah.
They obviously when you build something and put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears
Yeah.
into a project and someone goes up to you and says it's stupid, obviously you're gonna be feel a little bit of a type of way, you know? But again, like I said, you have to separate yourself from the actual business.
Hmm.
Don't take anything personally. If anything, take that as a lesson or like a segment of learning where you could
Hmm.
build upon because again, you're asking people for their feedback and what you can make better out of your product. And if that one person can help you get five people, and then those
Hmm.
five people could say something about your product, they could get 10 people. Wouldn't that be a little bit more worth it in the end? So I think putting down the ego it's a big one that you need to put down. Also, going back to the validation aspect of it, where you're asking if it's a real product or problem or not, just talk, converse, talk to these people. At the end of the day, these people are just trying to help you,
Yeah.
even though like you're seeing them as like prospective customers, they're still people at the end of the day. Just be a normal person and talk, have
Yeah.
a normal conversation. Just go up to them, just ask them how they're doing, ask them what they're up to, ask them about the product and say, when's the last time you dealt with this issue? And do you see yourself using this product in the future? And it's just asking about their frustrations and if they do have any frustrations around the product and ask them about, you know, I guess any time that they've, I guess, experienced going through a hard time regarding the product. And then you could role play a conversation with them. And you could kind of figure out, because I feel like that's the important aspect. Even though you're testing the product, you're also testing on how to talk to people and how to bring them in a little bit more in terms of marketing. And like as the more you talk and the more you put yourself out there, the better you get at communication with people and the more authentic and magnetic you're going to be and more people are going to actually want to come and help you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big one. It's just there's no huge like, oh, do or step one, step two, step three. I feel like you just need to go out there and just be who you truly are. Just don't be a
Yeah.
douchebag. Like it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not it's not that hard. Just be normal. And
No, yeah. I was one thing I just want to say about that too. Sorry if you don't mind. I was just gonna
no, go
say
for
I think a big part of this is, and this is actually a piece of advice I got from a friend of mine who's doing really well in his business is, especially when you're working with like mentors or like potential investors, or if you're raising funds right now and you need more fundraising for your business, whatever it is, more capital, or if it is talking to the customer, you need to approach these conversations that you're not seeking something. You're not only there just to get something from them, right? Like you're honestly more there to give something to them, you know? So what this looks like is let's say you ask a mentor to get lunch, right? Of course, like you want to get their advice and stuff, but don't go in the conversation being like, hey, like I'm trying to get some funding, like would you invest in me? Like go in and be like, hey, like and ask about themselves, ask how can I serve you? Like how can I help you?
it.
And we put this in one of our carousel posts recently, like how to be a good mentee. It's like don't try to get like be someone who's willing to serve them first, and then they'll be more willing to serve you later on, right? And it's the same thing with the customer. Go to the customer and be like, show like I really want to serve you. I want to, whether that's through a product or a service or advice or education, whatever it is, like I want to serve you. Don't even like bring up like, can you pay me right now? Like buy this service, right? Like ask them like I want to serve you first, and then you can lead into that later on. I just think, and that goes back to the authenticity, like we've talked about, just showing that you're really there to like because that's like what we do with work in general. It's like we're serving our communities, we're helping other people around us, you know? So if you're like if that's not your motive, then you're kind of falling behind and that's just it's gonna hurt you, you know? And so whether you like it or not, like an entrepreneur is a leader and that's just part of it. If you want to scale a business, you're gonna have to be a leader and it's hard. Like being a leader is tough. You're going to face a lot of challenges. People are going to hate you, and that's fine. People are going to disagree with you, and that's fine. People won't buy your product, they'll reject you, and that's fine. But you have to be authentic. You have to live your brand, and you have to like fully believe in what you're doing. And then, Brad, you were talking about, like these people will follow you and they'll come. And it's like this idea of a tribe, right? Like you build around a mission, around a vision. That's why businesses do mission and vision statements, is because people like often go and see a business not necessarily for the product. They want to see what's the mission behind it. Like what are they trying to solve? How are they helping their community? Like, what else are they doing to really impact human beings? And that's what buys a lot of loyalty and trust. And so you have to be able to define a mission statement, define like this is who we are and create that authenticity. And that's the type of leader like people are going to want to buy from and go forward with.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Um, I think before we close, there's like one little section I wanted to go over
Yeah.
in terms of actually putting it in action. So there's the actual pre-sale test. So it's
Mm.
something I personally do. There's different ways to do it, but I've gone on Meta. This is something I've done for Loam. You guys will find out about Loam a little bit later. But what I've done is make a landing page. Doesn't have to be real. It's just a landing page that shows your product with the actual product on it, with meta ads leading to that product to the landing page. Even if you don't have the product ready, you just make mock-ups, make the website real quick. If people go on there and make purchases right away, then you'll be able to see that the product actually works. And then you can put them either on a waiting list saying your product will come in a month. This is
Mhm.
just a landing page, or just refund them and say, hey, this product isn't quite real yet. We're getting there. Once it's ready, you're more than welcome to come back on it. So that's kind of the meta testing that I've done, but you should always find some sort of pre-sale test to also validate your idea to see like if this is worth scaling. So obviously that's the ultimate validation. If someone gives you money before you even built it, just for the idea.
Yeah.
You know, if you get paid, if someone says like, obviously someone could say like, yeah, I would pay for it, but if someone actually hands you money and you haven't built the idea like 100% yet, you're gold. Keep
Yeah.
keep validating, keep going. So I think student founders at the end of the day have that advantage because they're students, they're in college, they're building, they're getting, obviously they're going to be graduating in 3, 2, or like next year, obviously. People are always rooting for student founders at the end of the day. Because these are guys like that are trying to live out their dream. These are I don't know, it's a weird thing where you kind of want the student founder to win because
Yeah.
you see like it's this young 18 to 22-year-old that's just trying to accomplish their dreams.
Yeah.
So I think even if it's just like if you go up to 100 people and you only get 5 yeses, that's still some sort of validation that you should keep going because I feel like every new idea that has come out in the past has had more rejections than yeses.
Yeah.
No matter if that's like Apple, Facebook, Google, even like the internet. People don't even want to use the internet. It's a
Yeah.
stubborn ego at the end of the day. So
I'm gonna throw a crazy story, not a story, but just like a really quick like example of this. And this is like really kind of dumb, but it's like a really proven principle. So I had a friend in high school who like was kind of really cool guy. Like, got a lot of girls, like just kind of him, like he a lot of girls like liked him, would go out with him. And I remember one of my friends asked him one time, like bro, like how do you do like how are you getting all these girls and stuff? And he said like you guys don't realize like the amount of rejection that actually goes on behind it. And he's like a very good looking dude, very confident guy. And like, again, a lot of girls interested in him, but he was like, you guys don't understand. Like, there's so even way more girls that actually have like said no to like going out with me and stuff like that. So to your point, like, you're there, always there's gonna be more rejection than yeses. Like it's a proven principle. I'm pretty sure the door to door like official sales rate is actually 1 to 2%. So for every like 100 doors knocked or 50 doors knocked, they actually only one sale will ever come from it. And so it just proves that like you don't be afraid of rejection. So I just wanted to kind of bounce off that too.
I do love that. I love that. Yeah, that's honestly such a good point. That yeah, people. I feel like rejection is just such a good thing. People kind of
Yeah.
inherently think of rejection as a bad word, but rejection is also a synonym for testing.
Hmm.
And obviously, you want to test your product and see that, that there's product market fit at the end of the day. So I I would just recommend going out there,
Hmm.
testing. Don't be afraid to speak to people. Put your ego aside, increase those communication skills. It's just like going up to a girl and asking for her number. Obviously, it's scary. It's the same thing for business. Go up to people, show the product. If they don't like it, they're not talking to you as a person. They're talking about the business. Put those aside and you're gonna be fine.
100%.
You're gonna be fine. So
I love that, Brad. That's super great advice. I echo everything he said. Just go out, be confident, be who you are, be humble, and good things will come. You'll be successful. I guarantee that if you follow the formula we've talked about today. We encourage you guys all to hop on our Instagram as well. Let's look at the interview videos that are coming out this week. It's pretty inspiring to hear from other student founders and how they're doing these exact same things. Like they're going up to a podium, they're pitching their business to an audience of people they don't know. And like that's the part of the idea of like selling and being authentic and getting validation. And so I encourage you all to check out our Instagram, our newsletter, obviously more of our podcasts and continue just to follow us along because you'll get a lot of great insights. There's a lot of great founders who can hear from themselves and ultimately just being a part of this tribe, like we've talked about, part of a mission of inspiring these underdog entrepreneurs to go out and achieve great things just like you guys listening. So yeah, we encourage you all to check out our Instagram, check out everything else. But Brad, is there anything else you'd want to kind of touch on or share before we close out?
No, we're just we're just excited to get started. This is something that we've been building since November. Just kind of
Yes,
trying to
sir.
build up the content, just working hard, trying to, make quality content before we put it out there. Obviously, we should be doing quantity over quality in the start, but I honestly believe that you should be doing both. So we're
Yeah.
trying to put out good content that'll actually help startup founders, achieve their
Mhm.
dreams and get connected with different VCs or different groups of people that kind of have the same mindset at the end of the day. So, and obviously, if you need to go through segments of this podcast that we've had today and answer some of the questions that we talked about and see if your idea is fitting into those and see if you need to make some if you need to fix some things within that product and go out there, talk to people like I've said, and if you hear more no's, that's honestly a good thing because it
Yeah.
gives you a chance to either kill the idea or fix it. Because that's the only two options you have at the end of the day, and that's what you need to stick to. So
Yes,
cool.
sir. Love it. Great,
All
great
right.
stuff.
Cool. Episode 5, guys. I'll see you next
Yes,
week.
sir. Appreciate y'all.